Hello everyone. So in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make a custom model, something that you've modeled in the past or something that you want to model right now. I'm going to teach you how to turn it in to a MetaHuman, like I am here. So let's get started.
All right, welcome back. If you're returning, if this is your first time seeing any of my tutorials, welcome. Um, this is going to be a tutorial covering turning a custom character that you've already sculpted into a MetaHuman. All right, I'm going to make another tutorial after this one about customizing MetaHumans, sculpting them, changing their dimensions pretty drastically, and still having all of the MetaHuman animation tools and all of that. But for this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take a character you've already created and how to turn them into a MetaHuman. So I've got this sculpture that I made. I was just making a Fortnite style Magneto as a personal project. So I've got this Fortnite style Magneto, and I want to keep everything this stylized, right? I want him to look like he belongs in Fortnite, but I also want to have all of the functionality of a MetaHuman. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this tutorial. So first things first, we're going to want to transfer just his face and eyes. We're going to send that as an FBX over to Maya. I just want to set his head in the right position. It makes it a little bit easier in Unreal. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I've got his head separated. If you had your head as a full part of a body sculpture, you can just go ahead and delete the rest of the body and send just a bust over. You don't need the whole body for MetaHuman Creator. So if you've got a body, go ahead and just select those polygons and you can delete hidden. Um, Now, right now, my mesh is at 4 million polygons. I definitely don't want to send an FBX that big over. I also do want to send my eyes. Um, Mesh to MetaHuman, it likes to have eyeballs. It's not a must, but it helps in the calculation, the way that it sets up the markers. So also polypaint helps too. Again, not a must, but it does help a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make sure both of these pieces are visible. Now, again, I don't want to send over for almost 5 million polygon piece to Maya. That's not going to be fun. So I'm going to just hit Shift D to drop my subdivisions down to 70,000. Will work fine. I'm going to take my eyeballs, and they're at 13,000. Let's see. That's 3,000 is fine. So I am going to, with these visible, I'm going to go to my Z plugin. I'm going to go to my FBX exporter. It's right here, export import. All right, I'm going to set mine to visible, so only the visible polygons will be sent exported. And also, I've got mine on FBX 2020, and I've changed it to ASCII. It was bin. I've changed it to ASCII. It's smoothing the normals as well. I'm going to say export. And let's go ahead and name this head for, I'm going to delete that one. So I'm going to name it head for MM01. That's just mesh to MetaHuman. You can name it whatever you want. I could name it Magneto for MetaHuman, whatever you like. Okay. I say save. It's going to tell me that I'm overwriting it. That's fine. And I will be back. I'm going to open up Maya and I'll be right back. All right, so let's go ahead and now that I've got Maya open, I'm going to import that mesh. I named it head for MM. Okay, it is here. I can see that it's here in my outliner, but it's just way up here. So I want to move it down all the way to the grid. So I'm just going to grab that. Now my pivot is down at the origin. I'm just going to say modify center pivot. Just move this all the way down. I'll go into my side view. I can see I moved a little below the plane. I'm going to hit 4 to go into my see-through mode, hold X to snap, and just snap it right to the center of the grid. Now, the issue is right now I'm snapping my eyeballs too. So let's go ahead. Now I can go ahead and actually, so let's say modify, let's freeze our transforms. And this doesn't have to be perfect. I don't actually need to snap it. The mesh to MetaHuman Creator is going to work. So I'll modify, freeze transforms, edit. I'll delete my history just in case. And I'm going to hit 6 to preview my material. And that is not what I want. So I've got an old texture on here that has this weird, this is a baking error. This is from Substance. You can see if I look down, it's the shadow of the lip, so it's grabbing the baking rays are going down, and that's probably the ambient occlusion. So what I need to do is get my new texture on there. This texture will just throw off my mesh to MetaHuman. It's going to try and follow that as the lip line, or I assume it may. You know, it might see that red line and think, oh, that's the lower lip, instead of thinking this is the lower lip. So I just need to go ahead and I need to use this texture map. So I'm going to go all the way up to my highest subdivision. Oh, that's the eyes. I'll go to my highest subdivision here. I'll go to my texture map, and my UV map's 4096, okay. And I can say create from polypaint. And so the issue is I'm going to hit Control Z. I've got a layer, and ZBrush really needs to fix their poly painting and layers. Right now, if I have record on and I say bake all, because I've got a layer, I'm going to say bake all. You're going to see that it turns that into that same poly paint that we saw. If I hit Control Z, if I turn my recording layer off and hit bake all, then it'll work. I have no idea why it does that. ZBrush really needs to fix their poly paint layers situation, because it doesn't work. You can't do color fill. So poly painting and layers is kind of a nightmare in ZBrush. All right, so now let's go to our texture map, and we're going to say from polypaint. And there we go. So I'm going to say clone texture. I'm going to go to my texture, and with it selected, I'll flip vertically, and I can export that. Okay. So let's go back. I'm just going to go to my attribute editor, and let's just go to our texture. Okay, there we go. So now I've got a much better looking lip. This is all pretty blotchy. I'm going to repaint this head texture. There's some details that are missing, but for now, this works. This is much better. It doesn't have that issue with the lip line. All right, so let's go ahead and grab both of these meshes. Let's do delete by type history one more time just to be extra careful. And I'm going to say export selection. And let's make sure it's an FBX. I'm just going to name this O2 of that same. All right, so now my mesh is ready for my mesh to MetaHuman in Unreal. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is open up Epic Games, and we need to go to Marketplace. And we need to search for MetaHuman. All right, and we're going to find this MetaHuman plugin. This is going to allow us to do our mesh to MetaHuman. All right, so we can do personal sculptures. We can also do scans. So this is what we want. I'm going to click on it. Now, once I've gotten this mesh to MetaHuman, once I've installed it, well, I've downloaded it. I want to say install to engine. Now, for me, I've installed it to all compatible engines, so I'm just going to say cancel. But for you, if you have not installed this yet, you're going to hit install to engine and then select your engine version. Okay. Now, I'm going to be using 5.3.2. I think MetaHuman Animator started in 5.2, so I wouldn't use this in anything younger than 5.2. So I'm going to be using 5.3.2. And if I go to installed plugins, I can see my MetaHuman plugin is here. And I've got my bridge plugin as well. So I'm going to go ahead and launch 5.3.2. All right, so I want to go to games, and I'm going to create a blank project. And let's see. And I'm going to name it Meta Magneto 3. Let's see, I've done this. Oh, sorry. I'm going to select this, just select the Magneto folder and name it. And we're going to name our project Meta and create it. And I'm creating a blank project. We can add all of these after the fact. I'm not sure if we can add virtual reality. I think we have to start that on its own. But we can add a third person template, first person, top down, all of that stuff. All right, and once this loads up, I will be back and we'll go ahead and use our mesh and do a mesh to MetaHuman. Oh, well, that was a lot faster than I thought it'd be. All right, never mind. So I want to install my mesh to MetaHuman program, or my plugin, sorry. I want to make sure, so I'm going to go up here to edit, go plugins, and I'm just going to type MetaHuman. And I can see MetaHuman new experimental. I'm going to click that to activate the plugin. It's going to say it's experimental. I'm just going to say yes. Okay, say restart now. Enable missing. It's probably going to ask me to restart again. Okay, so once. All right, so I've got my blank template. This is all fine. I can zoom down here if I want. I can change my camera speed to something higher than 1. All right, I'll change my camera speed back to 1. It doesn't matter that much. Okay, so I want to import my mesh, so I'm just going to hit Control Spacebar to find my content browser. I'll create a new folder. Let's just name this. And let's import our mesh. So I'm going to say import. I'm going to go to the file where I saved it, and it was head for mesh to MetaHuman 02. Let's open that. Now, I want to go into advanced, and I want to combine meshes. I want my eyes and my head to be together, okay? If they're separate, you can't bring them into the mesh to MetaHuman, or it's just a little trickier. So let's just make it easier on ourselves and combine them here. I could have combined them in Maya as well. I do not need a collision mesh. I can turn that off. And convert scene, that just means it's going to change to a Z up, and it's going to create new materials. That's fine. I'll say import all. Okay, so I've got my two materials, my single texture map. I guess my two texture maps. Oh yeah, because this is for the eyes. My two texture maps, and that's it, my mesh. So I'm going to save those. All right, so now I'm going to right click in my content browser, and I'm going to say, go to MetaHuman Animator, and we're going to create a MetaHuman identity. All right, so we're going to name this guy MetaMagneto2. I'll save that and double click it to open it up. All right, so when I open up this MetaHuman identity, it's going to ask me to log into my Epic Games account so that it can link my MetaHuman Creator to my Epic Games account so that I can send them to Bridge. So everything's connected. All right, so you just need to log in with your Epic Games credentials. All right, so now that I am logged in, I'm going to go ahead and say create components from mesh, and there's only one static mesh in my entire scene, so it's popping up, easy to find. There it is. Okay, so here is my sculpture. I can change it to unlit. Sometimes that helps. I've got a little bit of funkiness going on with this poly paint though, so it might be a bit of an issue. I need to go back and repaint this. I did baked lighting for my texture map and everything, but I need to fix it again. Okay, so I'm going to keep it on lit mode. I think it'll help recognize the shadows. And we've got it set to neutral pose, so I'm going to say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and change our field of view to 20. Okay. And now I'm going to promote frame. Okay, it says this will be set to the front view. Yes, I accept that. All right, so now we're ready to track markers. This is going to go ahead and analyze the mesh and then find the nasolabial fold, the lips, the eyelids, and the eyebrows. So I can middle mouse scroll to zoom in and out. If I hold my right mouse button, I can pan. All right, and so I'm just going to adjust a few of these so that they're more accurate to the mesh. Now, I want the end of this in my tear duct, okay? So it's not just the edge of the eye. This is going into the tear duct, okay? So, and then this at the base of the eyelids. I'm not going to be too crazy about this since I'm doing a tutorial. If I was not, I would go in and make sure that these were pretty accurate, but I don't want to force you to watch me move a bunch of little points for too long of a period of time. So that's going to be good for me. And let's see, grab the lip. Okay, that's the upper lip. That's great. I do want to move, yeah, that's better. And then the lower lip, let's go ahead and move up here. Now you can see it was starting to try and recognize this lower shadow as the top of the lower lip. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty amazing how well it recognizes features. And I don't really, you know, he's got a little upturn, but I don't really want him having like this, you know, built-in kind of smirk. So I'm just going to drop that a little bit. And I'm going to call that good for now. All right, so we did promote frame, then we did our track markers, and now we're ready for our MetaHuman identity solve. I'm going to click that. Something I've also noticed is that in 5.3, the mesh to MetaHuman, it seems like it's way more accurate than previous versions. It feels to me like they've done a lot of work under the hood, because the I'm experiencing way fewer errors, and it's getting pretty insane how accurate it is. Okay, so now I don't want to go ahead and push this mesh to MetaHuman right away. There's a few things we have to do. We got to choose a body type, and I can preview it too, right? So I can readjust these points, and if I don't like my outcome, I can readjust these points and rerun this MetaHuman identity solve, right? So the way to check those is to hit this little B tab, and that's going to allow me to preview my MetaHuman. Okay, and that's pretty incredible. It's you know, it matched the a lot of the features really well. It's also got these tear ducts coming in really nicely. The nose looks great. Okay, all right, so I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and select a body type. I'm going to go with this male medium build. That works for me, and now I'm ready for my mesh to MetaHuman. So I can click that. And now it's going to give me two options. It says auto rig MetaHuman identity, skeletal mesh only. And then this one is full MetaHuman. We want to do the full MetaHuman, okay? Because this is going to give us all of our blend shapes and all of our, you know, all of the Apple AR kit blend shapes that allow us to do our facial capture with our phone and do the MetaHuman animator stuff. So definitely set it to full MetaHuman. Left click, and it's going to say, now it's waiting to send it to MetaHuman Creator. So it's sending it to the website right now. Now you do need to have a MetaHuman Creator account. All right, so you should already have that. So there are several tutorials out here on YouTube that show you how to create a MetaHuman Creator account and set that up. Okay, so it says skeletal mesh with MetaHuman DNA is now available in your content browser, and it's available in Bridge since I'm logged in with my credentials. Very cool. So now I can pan around and check him out. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to save all on this just in case. And I'm going to open up our MetaHuman Creator and preview that and show you a few of the options there as well. Okay, so I've launched MetaHuman Creator and I've signed in. So you're going to need to sign in with the same credentials you did in your Unreal Engine as you were using the MetaHuman plugin. And so now that I've launched it, I can see that I have a new MetaHuman. All right, and he's the same name that I named the MetaHuman Creator. If we go into Well, I think I'm going to have to open it up to get it to, so I'm not going to reopen the project, but the name that I had named that MetaHuman Creator file is what the name is here. Now we can of course change it. So you can see though he has no skin. He's got that that medium build, you know, human male, and he's got his sandals on. Okay, and the face is pretty darn good. There's no errors. So this new MetaHuman Creator for 5.3 is exceptionally good. They've done some extra work on it because I can tell from the last version to now there's some really impressive enhancements here. So yeah, here we go. All right, so this is pretty close to the proportions that I want for my character too. This is not too far off, which is great. That's what we're really going for. So I want to edit selected. Let's just give him some skin. Well, we're not gonna, you know, he's a stylized character, so we're gonna repaint his skin, but let's give him some anyway. We might be able to blend them a little bit in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna say edit selected. So here, if I go to custom face mesh, if I do have any errors in the eyes, let's say, I can select the eye and region of influence. What it means here is a region of influence of 1 means that your mesh to MetaHuman is influencing at 100%. So you can drop that to 0 and it's going to go back to the original. So if you have an eye error or you just want to change a shape, you can go back to 0, and I'm just going to put his face into, yeah, let's just freeze it. And I can, yeah, I can keep playing it here or I can pause it. I don't want to do a face ROM though. Yeah, there we go. Just a blank. And keep it paused. So he was just animating an idle, but let's not do that. Okay. This will just allow me to more accurately see. So like, let's say the nose, I can change the nose back to the original MetaHuman shape, or, you know, kind of the default shape. The lips. Yeah, so if I want to change anything, I can. Now, let's say the ears. His ears look pretty far back. Let's, and you know, so look, I'm changing the ears, and they're looking a little more normal. But my issue here is I've got Magneto, and he's got the helmet on, so I actually pinned them back to fit inside the helmet. So I'm going to leave them. But again, if you have any errors or anything that you just want to fix in this process, that's fine. We're going to be transferring the exact same shape from ZBrush, so this is going to fit our ZBrush character 100% anyway. So I'm very happy with these results. Let's give them some skin real quick. Just need to click this assign button, and then let's go pretty light. And I can go through these textures and assign a different texture if I want. This isn't going to matter too much because I don't want a realistic, you know, I'm not going for photorealism here. I'm going for stylize. So that's totally fine. I'm not going to add any hair. I could though, if I wanted to, I could add any of these grooms, any of these different sets of eyebrows, eyelashes, all that. I'm going to keep the body proportions the same. I could change them here. I could change my head scale if I want to. Well, you know what? I think I will change my head scale just a little bit because my character is heroic body proportions, so he's around 7.5 heads. So that means I want his head a little bit smaller. I want 2 heads down to the bottom of the pecs, and that looks about right. Yeah, that works for me. All right, and I also want to keep him with no clothes. We do not want clothes if we're doing these custom jobs. The issue with clothes is the just to streamline the mesh, the geometry underneath the clothes is deleted, and we want all of this geometry. Okay, just in case we want, you know, for this project, he's got his Magneto suit on, but any other project, we want the this line between the collarbone and the pecs. There's where the head is separated for the MetaHuman. Also, with this body, once I move the mesh, I can transfer I can copy the skin weights, which I will be doing. So then I don't have to paint my skin weights. So, you know, I don't have to do so much work when I paint my skin weights. All right, so we're gonna do no pants, no shirt, and I wish we could do no shoes too, but we're gonna do flip-flops because we do want to see these toes as well. I mean, this is the general workflow. For him, it's not a huge deal. I could use a shoe and copy the skin weights. I could use clothes and copy the skin weights, but this entire mesh, it'll just be a lot easier to copy the skin weights. So we're done. I could rename him here too. That's why I was saying it doesn't matter too much on your mesh to MetaHuman what this name is because we can change it. All right, so if I just go back to my MetaHumans, it's going to be saved. There we go. I've got my Meta Magneto 2. You can see I've already done this once. And so now that I've done that, he is going to be in my library for bridge, and he is going to be, I can add him to my projects now. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to send this mesh over to Maya, and that's going to allow me to send the mesh to ZBrush. All right, so let's get that started. Now I'm going to be using Quixel Bridge to send the mesh over to ZBrush. I have got a tutorial on that process. Now, since I'm signed in, I can go to MetaHumans, and I can go to My MetaHumans Unreal 5, and you'll see that Magneto popped up right away. All right, so I'm going to click on him, and for my download, I need to go into my download settings, and I need to make sure my model is UAsset plus source asset. And then I need to go into my export settings and make sure my target is Maya. So it says installed. I've already got this bridge to Maya installed. So this is going to allow me to, once I download it, I will be able to send it directly to Maya, and, which is exactly what I need to do. Now, I can't use the triangulated mesh that I would get from exporting. If I exported a MetaHuman mesh from Unreal Engine, it's going to be triangulated, and I can't use it. This, and also for this project, I need Maya because I need to do some blend shape work. So it's absolutely essential that we're using this bridge to Maya. This does not work without that. So I'm going to go ahead and start my download, and I will be back once it's done. All right, so we have finished downloading. I can tell because I have a blue plus sign instead of a green download. So you can see here I've got the green down arrow. Here I've got the blue plus. We are ready to send this to Maya. Now I need Maya open. Another thing, and I haven't tried this yet just because I've been so busy working, is when you install this bridge to Maya, it goes to a specific version, and I think you need to delete if you want to change the version. So I've got this set for 2020, and I want to, of course, change it to the newest version of Maya, but I just haven't had time. So I believe, I haven't tried it yet, but you've got to delete it in the plugins in Maya, in the folder itself, and then try to reinstall it. I wish that Bridge just allowed you to reselect which version, like GoZ does. So anyway, I'm going to be using Maya 2020 because that is the version that I installed the original bridge to. So I do need to update this. I know a lot of the Maya or the Unreal, um, the MetaHuman DNA stuff, the calibration stuff, needs to be in a newer version of Maya, and we're gonna need that for our next tutorial. So I will be fixing Maya, and sorry, I'll be fixing Maya and getting that all ready to go. For now, you need Maya open as well, the version that is connected to your bridge. So I'm open Maya now. I'll go back to bridge. I'm going to hit the plus button. It's going to say exporting to Maya. Successful. All right, now I go to Maya and it says, are you sure you want to import MetaHuman character? Yes, I am. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'll be back when this is loaded. So I have finished the importing of the character. And we can see he has his skin shader. Now, this might not show up for you in your version of Maya. I have switched my Maya to DirectX 11, which is what the Unreal Engine runs on, but Maya is default OpenGL. So if you can't see your shader, you can switch it down here. I'm just going to go to the little guy running away from the buzzsaw. And if I go to my, let's see, I believe it's display, right here in Viewport 2.0, you just want to change it to DirectX 11. It's going to ask you to restart it, so then you're going to want to save. And that's the first thing I'm going to do here too. So before I do anything that might break this MetaHuman, so I can show you, this is a working MetaHuman. If I go to the controls and move it, I can see I've got a working MetaHuman, which is great. Now we just want to transfer Magneto's clothes to the body and transfer the create a blend shape for the face that makes it so they're exactly the same shape. And then we're ready to go. So yeah, I want to save this though before I do anything that might break it. This is always my process. Once I do a bridge to Maya, I save immediately, and then I've just got that default, so I don't have to wait the 3 or 4 minutes that it takes to import all of that MetaHuman information. And this is going to be Magneto 2 full rig. That's going to be the kind of default name for the first save. You can see I've got Magneto 1 full rig, so I'm just going to say save. There we go. So for the next custom MetaHuman tutorial, I'm going to be customizing this body and head. So we're going to merge them together and then sculpt on that. But for this video, we just need the head information. So we actually don't need to send the body over. All right, and down here in my display layers, if I'm in my channel box, I can see I've got my body LOD. And how interesting, why is it showing, why am I seeing two? Oh, I guess that's just the shading. It's blocking the light. That's so interesting. So I just need to send out, and I can also, I've got my joints turned off. Your scene might show up something like this actually, where you can see all of the joints. And if I was in my shading X-ray joints, it would be a pretty scary mess. My MetaHuman skeletons are separated, right? There's not two MetaHuman skeleton. I mean, there's not just one. There's actually three. So we've got the body root, which is hidden, and we've got the root driver, and that's actually a basically a control rig. So that rig drives the body root, but the body root is the one that is the one we will be binding to our character's body. So the head and spine is what's going to be controlling all of this facial information. You can see the joints move when we animate. Now it's moving the joints and it's actually moving a bunch of blend shapes too. So we'll get into that in just a minute once we come back from ZBrush. But for now, all of this is just a lot of information that I don't need to see. So I'll go back into my show panel and we'll go down to joints and just hide those joints for now. That way I can't select them. Yeah, I just can't, I don't need to see all that right now. Now with the eyes, there's a bunch of elements that I don't need for this specific character. I don't need these hair card eyelashes. I'm just going to hide them for now. I could add them to a new layer too. Why don't we do that? So I've got these guys. I'm going to say add to new layer. I'll just call this eye extra. I always like to do a LYR for my layers. And I can hide that. And now I can grab the rest of this stuff and right click and say add selected objects, and that'll just add it. So now I've got my eyes, my face, and then I also want to bring along my teeth. So I want to bring along my teeth, and there's a little film right over the teeth. I want to bring my teeth and tongues, all of this stuff. So as it's moved, well, for this one, I actually don't need to scale it. So I'm going to leave my teeth behind. The next tutorial I do will bring the teeth, but for this I can actually just go in and edit the blend shape and move it back, move the vertices back, and I'll show you how to do that. We do want to bring the eyes just so we see where they're at. Okay, so I'm going to grab the eyes and the head mesh, and I'm going to, as I grab it, I'm just going to grab all this, and then I'm going to shift select and grab all of the head controls. I'm going to make a layer for that too, because that's actually geometry. And let's hide that. Oh, I hid the lighting too. So look, down here are the lights. Let's remove those. There we go. Okay, so now let's grab the head and the eyes. I'm going to say File, Export Selection. And I'm going to send this to my Maya. And this is going to be head for ZB. That's head for ZBrush. Oh, we're going to do meta. Let's do Meta Magneto head for ZB01. Oh, and it's an FBX export. I want to make sure that I'm not sending out all of that MetaHuman DNA. That's, it's going to take forever to export. So turn animation off. Otherwise, it's going to be sending out a bunch of information that we don't want. Okay, so let's export selection. And unfortunately, it looks like it's still sending out the blend shapes, or at least it's sending out a part of the rig. What am I looking at? DHI facial. Yeah, those are the joints. Okay, that was pretty fast, so it definitely wasn't the blend shapes. So I'm ready to go back to ZBrush and import this head and eyes into ZBrush. All right, so let's go ahead and open up ZBrush. I'm going to save this one more time. And just to be safe, I'm going to save it as a second version. Just going to say 2 full rig underscore 02. Just so I've always, the other version is just kind of the default always. I can always go back to that. I know I've got my working rig. Okay. So I'm going to go back to ZBrush. And let's hide everything but the face for now. I'll show the eyes too. And then I'm going to go to just a simple 3D shape. And I'm going to say, I don't want to import. I actually want to go to Z plugin, and we're going to go FBX import export. And I'm going to say import from here. And I can go to, I was in Maya, and we had meta head for ZBrush. It was meta, yeah, Magneto meta head from ZBrush. No, that's not. I believe it's that. All right. Oh, why did it grab? I've been having this weird problem where I do not have the controller selected, and it really wants to bring along the controllers. So it's odd because they're absolutely not correct. It might just be that they are driving, so they've got some kind of parent relationship with the head. So when I export the FBX, it's bringing along any child and parent relationship stuff. It's my only thought as to why that would happen, because I definitely didn't have that geometry selected. All right, it says file imported. Let's have a look. Okay, we've got the stuff we need. So let's just hide everything. And I don't need to delete all this stuff because I'm just going to actually I'm going to be importing it into this scene anyway. Something, this is a great base mesh, okay? This has incredibly good topology. So if you ever just want a human head base mesh, I would highly recommend the MetaHuman head base mesh. You've already got the UVs, it's got great topology, and so this is a good starting off point to start a sculpture too. I don't usually start sculptures from existing base meshes because I like to explore forms, and I feel like when you start with an existing base mesh, it influences your exploration too much. So I feel like you can be a little more freeform if you start from a sphere. But if if you're in a crunch and you need a human character, this is a great starting off point. All right, so let's just go over to my character, and I had the head selected, so I'm just going to say insert and grab that head. And yeah, let's see, do I need the eyes now? I'm going to leave the eyes out of this for now. Okay, I can see my head is in the right orientation, which is great. It's where I want it. If it's not, you should rotate and move it into the right orientation, because we're going to be using ZWrap, which is a plugin. You do have to buy a ZWrap. It's from Russian Scanner, I think is what they're called, Wrap 3D. I'll post a link in the about for this video. So if you want to do this and try it out, you can go ahead and get the trial. I think it's a 1 month free trial for both. The Wrap works great. It's got some really cool tools for painting and relaxing your mesh. I like ZWrap, and the new version of ZWrap is actually extremely friendly. It's really cool. So I think ZWrap is a great option. And if you're going to get into character art pretty heavily and you've got base meshes that you want to transfer, you need to get ZWrap or Wrap 3D. It's a pretty integral part of the pipeline. So I want to get these guys pretty close to the same position. Now I know that my my magneto head is exactly where I need it for the body, so I'm going to be moving my head LOD0. And the pivot's going to be all the way down at the bottom, so I can just control left click, and that'll show my move gizmo. Then I can center it, and let's just reset it. So to center it, I just, Alt. I hit Alt left click on the this little place, and it centers to the mesh, and then this will reset it. And now I can move it, and let's just move them pretty as close as we can. Now we're going to be using Wrap 3D, so that's going to put the mesh over each other pretty accurately. As far as projection goes, for projecting, we're going to have some issues with the lips when we project. So I want to open the mouth of my magneto, my original sculpt. So I'm going to go to this guy, and I want his mouth slightly open so that when I'm projecting from him, it's just going to be a little bit easier when I do it. So let's go to layers, and okay. This is something I found. I really, let's see. Yeah, I found that the mouth being open really really helps with the projecting details. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. And that's all I really need. Now I had created a layer that already has this done, so you can just go in and mask out, this part of the mouth, and then rotate it up to, or rotate it down to open it. And that's all I really need. I just want the lips to be far enough away from each other that when I project, I'm not going to get all these cross projection errors that I would get. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the wrap process. I need to make sure that I'm showing my mesh, and I'm going to hide the eyes. They don't need to be a part of this. And I believe that I want the one that's wrapping to be on top, and then the one I'm wrapping to be on bottom. I'm pretty sure that's the order. So I've already installed the ZWrap plugin that's down here. It's fairly easy to install. You just do it. It installs right into your plugin folder. So once I open it, I'm going to say Start ZWrap. Oh, and it might have recognized that as the, so it's recognizing I've got just a 3D object to take the name, because ZBrush likes to rename the top object so I can keep my names correct. So I've got that now. I guess I'm just going to move this guy down. Here we go. So now let's go ahead and start wrap. Yeah, so Wrap 3D, the standalone program, it's got some really amazing stuff where you can take you can take 40 scans, so you can get your range of motion for all of your blend shapes for your facial animation, and you can serialize it and process them all. So I highly recommend, if you don't know this application, I recommend getting to know it because it's extremely helpful in character modeling. It also helps for transferring details. If you've done a bunch of skin details and you want to transfer those details, or you've done a paint job that you want to transfer, you can transfer your textures, your displacement information, your normal map information and your color information. You can transfer it all. So it's definitely an integral part of being a professional character modeler. Now I don't know why it's taking so long. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a second. I'll be back. All right, so we have our models loaded up in ZWrap. I've got sync views set, so they both rotate in the same place. They're in since I moved this mesh pretty close to exactly in the same place, they are very similar where they rotate from. If they were off, these camera views would be off, and it just makes it a little bit harder. That's why I like to move it up in place. So I'm going to start setting points. All right. I want to set my symmetry to my X symmetry, and then you'll see there's symmetry. It doesn't work all the time, so just pay attention to your points, okay? Because you want to make sure that they have the right count. So I'm going to just start in the eyes, and we're going to keep on working. So I'm going to say tear duct here. Now you can see, look, when I press, I've got my symmetry on, but I go to this tear duct, and it doesn't preview on the other side. So let's try this side, and it does. It's working now from this side. So I just need to make sure that I do the same thing from this side. I want to be in the same spot. So that's going to be 0, that's going to be 1. Just need to make sure that both markers match up to the right numbers. So are we going to be able to place here? It looks like we are. Let's go ahead and place here. That's looking good. We can always move them too. Okay, so I can, if my cursor turns into an arrow, that means I can grab this marker and move it if I need to. So let's do a marker for the eyelid too. We're going to try and go dead center right around there. Let's say dead center here is right around there. Now let's look up at the top. All right. So to zoom in and out, I've got to hold Alt and right click out. I've got to be outside of the mesh. Oh, and my symmetry didn't work on this side. So I've got a 7 here and I don't have one here. So let's turn off symmetry here and see if I hit. There we go. So I could do that, or I could undo and redo. Let's just try it again. Turn our symmetry on. Thinking that, see how it disappeared right there? Just something you got to pay attention to. There's nothing more frustrating than getting, way down the line and realizing that your marker count is off, and then you have to go back and redo it. All right, so I'm going to do the corner of the nose. Let's do the inside of the nostril too. Do the bridge of the nose. And I'll turn symmetry off and do the tip of the nose too, just dead center. Let's try and get it right on this vert right here. And okay, let's turn symmetry back on. Let's do the mouth now. All right, so I want to do the right where it comes up, that M shape. And I'm going to go straight down from there. So let's just go straight down from there, base of the lips right around there. We'll go straight down. Say that's the same spot. All right, now we can do the corner of the mouth. Okay, so I just clicked and I realized there's 20's not showing up. So let's try and do this reverse. Oh, and look, it's not working on that side. So I'm going to have to, let's do that. You can see it's not showing up. That's okay. We're going to turn our symmetry off and we'll just hand place this one. And there we go. All right, turn my symmetry back on. Let's, I want to do give a little bit of information to try and tell it to wrap to the inside of the lip too. So we're going to do that. And we'll do it there too. And I also want to do one at the back of the mouth, just so we're letting it know, okay, there's inside this cavity, you need to wrap back here. Okay. So I'm going to just try and look inside the mouth and see, I can see it's right straight back. Say right there. Oh, my counts are off. Look at that. Oh yeah, because I didn't do the top of the lips. See? Here I go. All right. So 21, 22 should be right there. There we go. And now let's do the, okay, 23, 24, perfect. Let's turn off our symmetry. And we can go ahead and do one for the chin right here. And I'll turn my symmetry off and do a center of the chin. Right about there. Let's do the throat right here. Just a little further in. We'll do the jaw. And just double check, make sure those are all there. Great. Now let's do the ears. I always like to do a point here, a point here, and usually do one here too, right around there. Let's just make sure they made it to, okay, great. And let's go ahead and do a base of the skull. I'm going to say from 38 over. I'm going to go down just a little bit. There we go. And I don't want this stuff to wrap. I mean, I can just sculpt it under the suit, honestly, but I prefer it not to wrap too much. So let's see, it's going to be right around here. Let's say this is there. So hopefully that'll tell. Hopefully these marks will make it so this stuff doesn't bunch up. What I don't want is this border going all the way to here. I mean, I'd prefer not. It's not a huge deal if it does. Let's see there. Uh-oh, my numbers are off. Oh, there we go. That's why. I need to turn my symmetry off. All right, so let's just add some temples just to give it a little more information. And I think we're good from here. Okay, so I am ready to run my wrapping. So I'm just going to say wrapping. And there's this new cartoon wrapping that I find really impressive. It seems to do a great job. So I'm going to click cartoon wrapping, and I'm going to let ZWrap process this. So it's going to go through a count. Yeah, so it did bunch all this up. You know what? That's fine though. That is not an issue, because my Magneto's suit comes up to his neckline right here. So that'll be okay. Usually takes, I feel like it's normally a little faster than this. If you want to get something to not wrap, if you want it to not move, like say I wanted to keep this MetaHuman bust in that original shoulder shape, I can mask it out before I send it to wrap, and it will not move. So if you want something to not move, you can mask it, and it won't move. So I can zoom in and check my results, and they're looking pretty awesome. All right, so I can say, it says wrapping done. I can say done. So now it's going to transfer all of these vertices to the right position. There we go. All right, and as you can see, I've got a MetaHuman. This is all of my MetaHuman topology in position of my hand sculpted information. So I've got my MetaHuman UVs, which are great. I can send this over to Maya and use this as a blend shape to change the head shape of my MetaHuman now, and he will look exactly like my sculpture. So if you want to transfer MetaHuman topology over to a character, even if you're not going to use it, you know, if you like this facial topology, which I mean, it's pretty much perfect. So, you know, if you don't want to retopo your faces, you can just use this as a base mesh, and it's already got great UVs, and you can use any of the MetaHuman textures on your character because you've got the MetaHuman UVs. If you want to transfer the entire MetaHuman, you would need to merge the head and body. Like, let's say you've got a character with a body and you want to transfer all of that information. There's a way to do that too. And in my next tutorial video, it's going to be kind of my phase 2 of customizing a MetaHuman. I'll show you how to do that. So I'm quite happy with this. Now I want to transfer this sculpted detail over to my MetaHuman, right? Because I've got some extra detail here that my MetaHuman doesn't have. So the first thing I want to do is divide this up to a point where I can transfer that information. And I'm going to say, I think around 6 million polygons, because this is a fairly stylized character. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to store a morph target. Okay, this will allow me to paint back any errors. And I'm going to go into my layers, and I'm going to create a new layer. And we're just going to name this detail project. I'll say projection. So we're going to project our details, and we've got a recorded layer. If anything goes wrong, we can delete this. This is just a way to work in a nice, smooth manner. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out projecting the details. So we can also project this poly paint, which I do want to do. So my guy's at around 4 million. I like to start low. I like to project at a lower detail level and then move up. I feel like when you step through you get fewer errors. All right, so I'm going to go down to, in my subtool menu, I'm going to go to project, and I'm going to turn off color for now. I'm not going to project color until I'm at my highest subdivision level. So I'll say project all. And there we go. Now I got some errors, okay? I can start getting rid of those errors now. I'm going to hold shift to smooth. I'm going to turn my RGB off and then just do my add. I'll also turn my symmetry on because it looks like I've got errors in both of those areas. And I just went down a subdivision level. And I can see I've got errors in the corner of the eye too. This is usually where you're going to get your projection errors. Now the inside of the eyelid is looking a little bit weird too. I can just smooth that for now. And of course the corner of the mouth is always a kind of a nightmare. Now the corner of my mouth is very problematic. It's super thin, so I'm probably going to need to inflate that a little bit, just so my blend shapes on my MetaHuman look better. All right, so I'll go up to my final subdivision level. Let's do one more projection, and then we'll clean up from there. And I can project my color now too. So let's say project all. It's asking me, it says the visible subtool has polypaint. Would you like to project polypaint? Yes, I would. Now, this is probably going to take a while, so yeah, I'm not going to make you watch me project details. Yeah, I'll be back when it's done.